This week we're going to be chatting about a trend that's been pretty popular for field service organizations, BYOD, or bring your own device. So while the BYOD trend isn't exactly new, a lot of service organizations are wondering what the risks are and whether it's worth it. So let's just dive right in and take a look at some of the pros and cons of running a BYOD policy within your service business. All right, so our first pro over here is that it lowers technology costs. So this is pretty obvious, but some of the costs will be transferred over to the employees. And even when companies are supplementing the data plans of their employees with BYOD, the technology costs still go down because you're not having to buy, big bulk devices and things like that. So that's the first benefit. The second benefit is that it improves user engagement. So when technicians are using devices they know and are comfortable with, they're more likely to use them more often. And frankly, when technicians are using their devices more often, they're going to get more done. So it's a win-win for everyone. All right, our third benefit is that employees like it. It's nice using devices that you know and are comfortable with, and studies have shown that even when employees have to cover some of the cost of using their own device, they still are happier using their own devices because those are the devices they've chosen to use in their personal lives, and it makes sense that they would like the features of those devices. And our last benefit is that generally you get to take advantage of newer devices. So when you're investing in the same device for all of your employees, that takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money, so you can probably only do it every few years or 5 years or so. So you might be stuck using, even if you would invest in new devices today, in 3 years those are going to be pretty out of date. Whereas personal devices, individuals tend to update a lot sooner. So with that, even though everyone's not using the same device, they're still using newer devices with more cutting edge features, and those are features that your organization can take advantage of then. So those are some major benefits to consider. You have increased employee engagement, increased productivity, lower costs, but BYOD doesn't come without its challenges. So we're going to go through a few cons of BYOD. Just because there are these challenges doesn't mean that you can't work around them. There are products and workarounds that we're not going to cover today, but that you can look into and still make BYOD work for you. So the first con we're going to go through is security concerns. So, obviously when you have technicians using different sorts of devices and when they're mixing personal and work, it creates a little bit of a saucy situation for security. So that's just something to keep in mind. The next con is that there's no uniform user support. So similarly, when everyone's on different platforms and using different devices, you're not going to have an internal IT person, that can fix everything. So, some of this user support will have to fall back on your employees and, having them seek out their own solutions if something happens to their devices. Our last con is that it's hard to implement a BYOD policy when you have on-premises software. So an easy solution for this is to make sure that your service application that you're using is SaaS-based, so software as a service. The reason for that is it can be expensive and hard to train employees on an on-premises software when they're each using their own version of the app. So a SaaS solution, a SaaS app, will make that uniform across platforms and across devices. And then one last thing to consider is it's similar to the on-premises software. It's hard to use a BYOD policy when the service app you choose doesn't run cross-platform. So an easy solution to this is to just make sure that the app you choose to run your business on can run on any device and any platform. So even if you're not using a BYOD policy today, you can switch over at any time. All right, that's all we have for today's Field Force Friday. See you next week and have a great weekend.